Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dez and today I am here with a review of HBO's Lovecraft Country Episode 1, Season 1. Before we get into the review, I want you to make sure that you like, comment, and most of all, subscribe, okay? I appreciate the love from everybody that's already over here. Shout out to you people who have already hit that subscribe button and rang that notification bell, okay? I see y'all out there. I see you, and I appreciate you. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this review and talk some Lovecraft, okay? So episode 1, Sundown, opens up with our main character, Atticus. We see Atticus. It is a war scene. It's in black and white. There's bombs, there's guns, there's everything that war usually includes, right? But then out of nowhere, we see aliens. We see UFOs. There's a red woman. The red woman approaches Atticus. Then there's a monster that just comes out of nowhere. But the monster isn't there for long because he is quickly mollywopped by some baseball player. I have no idea. I don't know. I kind of missed that part. But I just remember that monster getting pulverized into a little pulp, okay? We quickly realize that this is a dream. We see Atticus on his way back to Chicago. Atticus is a Korean War veteran, and he is headed back to his family in Chicago because his dad has came up missing. So like I said, they're on a bus. They're traveling to Chicago. It is Jim Crow America, so you know that segregation is still a thing. We got our white folks at the front, and we got our black folks at the back. And at this time, I'm going to say thank you to Sister Rosa Parks for all that you did, man. We appreciate you, and we don't have to live that life anymore, okay? So yes, they are on the bus. Everything's going along. Atticus was reading, which kind of probably influenced that crazy little dream he had. We come to learn that Atticus loves to read along with the rest of his family. They even have a couple writers there. And they're heavily interested in science fiction. So the bus has a little kerfuffle. The tire blows out and everyone has to get off of the bus. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do. They then say that there's a truck coming into town and everyone's going to get on the truck and they're going to drive from the country into the city. But we come to find out that everyone means just the white people. So Atticus and the black woman who he was sitting across from, they have to walk into town, luggage in hand, accompanied by just Buck and Ben, just hitting it with the left and hitting it with the right. As they're walking, I kind of picked up on that Atticus's interest in reading was kind of like an escape mechanism or an escapism from his current reality or something that he's dealt with in the past. So that's something that I bookmarked and made sure I made note of and reference back to as we continue to watch the series. Like I said before, he's returning from the Korean War because he's received a letter that his dad is missing. So we cut to Chicago. It's summertime and we see Atticus going to visit his family. He has Uncle George, his Aunt Hippolyta, and they have a little girl who's an amazing artist. George and Hippolyta, they are both writers, but they do a different kind of writing. You come to learn that they do a lot of traveling around the country and exploring the American land, okay? They are writers for the Green Book. If you've never heard of a Green Book is what a lot of African Americans use to navigate Jim Crow America, because it kind of gave you the green light of what places would accept you, where could you stay as far as hotel and lodging, where could you eat, what cities were you safe in, what cities were sundowns. It kind of covered all of that information. So they do a lot of traveling, and they are away for days at a time doing this traveling and writing. So before Atticus' dad went missing, he wrote him a letter that outlined that he was going to investigate his mother's ancestry and that Atticus had some type of secret legacy, some type of birthright, which has roots in Lovecraft country, which is in Arkham, Massachusetts. He then walks through the city. He's looking for the bar, which his dad was last seen at. He visits the bar owner. He walks up on the bar owner in the back, and he finds him getting his bird blurped by somebody. Shout out to HBO. The bar owner shares with him that the last time he saw Atticus's dad, he was at the bar, and he left with somebody in a very, very fancy, out of the ordinary car. So there's a block party happening in the neighborhood. We are introduced to Letty and her sister Ruby. Ruby seems to be a singer. She has a band. She's performing on stage. Letty is coming in town, and she's asked to hop on stage, and there's a little tension there. I feel like we're gonna continue to get some backstory with Letty and her family. Letty comes on stage and helps perform. Well, not helps because there's a little competition there. They perform together, let's say that. After the show, Letty and her sister are talking. It's obvious that they don't have the best relationship. Letty's in town trying to find an actual stable job, but her sister's only giving her 2 days to stay with her. I don't know what kind of job you're looking for in 48 hours, but good luck. There's a little bit of colorism talk in there. Letty is a very, very light-skinned African-American woman. Meanwhile, her sister is on the darker end of the brown spectrum. So Letty is a little bit hesitant about working in housekeeping, doing more household work, which is what a lot of black women did during that time, and she wants to more so work downtown and get a decent paying job. And that was a really interesting point of discussion amongst the sisters. I feel like we're going to get more of that conversation as we go on in the series. Atticus and George then decide to head to Devon County, Massachusetts to look for Atticus's dad. When he leaves George's house, he's walking to his own apartment, but as the camera pans, we see that there is a silver, I don't even know what kind of car it's a big body car, like one of the kind of cars a gangster would drive almost, but it has like this chrome finish to it that was very out of the ordinary for that time period. So he arrives home, puts on some music. The camera pans around. We see that there are some holes in the wall, which lead us to believe that somebody, either him or his dad, may have been abusive. I'm not sure if they live there together, but I think that is the family home. I think his dad raised him on his own. Atticus calls the operator, and she connects him to South Korea, which is where he was formerly stationed. I don't know who he's talking to. I don't know if it's a girlfriend, just a friend, or whatever. But when the call is connected, they're like, "You went home, didn't you, Atticus?" Well, you shouldn't have. It's a very short conversation. Atticus didn't even have a chance to respond before they just clicked the line and ended the call. That was it. She didn't have much to say, I guess. So next scene, we see Atticus walking up to Letty and George. They're getting ready to go on their journey. They're going to drop Letty off at her brother's house on their journey. They're saying their goodbyes to Hippolyta and the little girl. As they're driving, they are listening to a recording of James Baldwin. Shout out to James Baldwin. He is one of my favorite people. He is one of the many black queer black history figures that we often don't recognize. So I always like to take a moment and say thank you to Mr. Baldwin for being himself, for being a genius, just for being Baldwin. I thank you, sir. I know he can't see this or hear this, but just know that I thank you. You've done a lot for me. They end up taking a break on their journey. They set to have lunch at this diner. They don't know what the diner looks like exactly, but he has some type of physical description of it, so he's looking for it. They end up stopping at a diner, but it's not quite the diner that they think they were looking for. Okay, so they walk in, and the vibe is already a little off. Black people walk into anywhere in Jim Crow America, and you're going to get some side eyes. Even when they were driving through town, they passed by the fire department, and they were looking at them crazy. And you know what that crazy look is. If you're black or you're a person of color, you know what that look is when a racist gives it to you. There's nothing that compares to that look. It's something about that look that literally strikes you right there in your being, because we know when we look at somebody and they look at us a certain way, we know what that means usually. So like I said, they go in, the waiter's stunned. The one patron that's in there, he wraps up his meal and he nicely exits through the front door. Letty then goes to the restroom. As she's headed to the restroom, she overhears the waiter on the phone talking to somebody. I assume it's the owner. He's like, there's some black people that just walked in. He's telling them, no, I didn't serve them, going through all of the setup and all that, what's happening. While Letty's back there getting the intel, shout out to Miss Pizarro, getting the intel from the guy while he's on the phone. George and Atticus are sitting at their booth waiting to be served, which never really happens. Letty comes booking it. She is running through the restaurant. She's like, hey, you there with the melanin. Get up. Get up. We gotta go now, okay? They go out the front door. They are met with bullets. There are sirens flaring. There's the fire department. There's a little militia, I think, and the cops are coming right behind them. It is not a pretty sight. This is one of the most suspenseful scenes that I've seen on television in a long time. So a chase ensues. They're firing back and forth. They're trying to escape. And then out of nowhere, guess what shows up? That silver vehicle. That silver car swoops into the road, blocks the police car. The police car tumbles, and ends up saving the group's life, certainly. The silver car doesn't even look like it's been touched at all. A white woman gets out of the car and stares at the group as they make their way down the road. They eventually make it to Letty's brother's house. They share stories and different theories about the town that Atticus's dad had mentioned in his letter. George calls home to check on his family. Letty and her brother also have a turbulent relationship. I'm sure we're going to explore that family a little bit more just to see where a lot of that tension comes from. There's a lot of talk about money, family issues, people dying, people not being there, just a whole cluster of issues that they covered in that one scene. We then come to learn that Atticus also has a very complicated relationship with his father. I believe his father was an alcoholic and was a bit abusive to him throughout his childhood. So the next morning, the group decides to get up. They are headed to Devon County. Letty joins them because she's obviously not welcomed anywhere else. They end up going in circles at this point. They are circling through the woods. Everyone's annoyed. Everybody's heated, and they need to take a break, because you know when you get frustrated when you're driving, you're traveling, and you can't find what you're looking for. Sometimes it's just best to stop, reorient yourself, and then try again. They take a break, and as they're just in the woods, a police officer rolls up, and it turns out to be the sheriff of the town. and he lets them know that this county is in fact a sundown town, and that they have about 9 or 8 minutes to get out. Get out now, because the sun is about to go down, and also it's gonna go down if you don't get out. The sheriff is truly one of the most disrespectful people I've ever seen on television. Totally degrading. Just a trash person, okay? So they're trying to make it out. Trying to make it across the county line before the sun officially goes down. And they know for sure that they're dead if the sun goes down. Because in sundown towns, they literally mean if you are black and we see you in this town after the sun goes down, you're practically dead. Like, that's a guaranteed lynching, a beating, a shoot. It's gonna be an issue. So they make it with just minutes to spare. They cross the train tracks, they cross the county line. You think they've made it, and lo and behold, there are 2 patrol cars catty-cornered, blocking the road, guns drawn, and they know at that point it's about to get real. They push everybody onto the ground. They're in the wood. They walk them into the woods. They push them on the ground. They suspect them of being burglars. There's a lot of crime going on in the area, and they put that on them. And you never know if that's really true, because as you know, even in today's society, black and brown people can be detained for crimes that they have no linking to, crimes that might not even be happening. As they have them captured, they're detaining them. The cops are distracted by these sounds going on in the woods, and I'm a country boy. I know what the woods sound like. I have a little bit of fear of the woods, because you don't know what's out there. You don't know how deep the forest is. This ugly, booger-looking, reptar-looking, dinosaur-like creature comes out of nowhere and snatches up one of the police officers. He gets snatched up. The sheriff gets his little chicken wing is gone. He's mauled. He ain't got but one arm now, and they're scrambling. They're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. The group starts to run. They find a little shack in the woods. They go in. The police come in with them. You literally just tried to kill us. What are you doing? We're trying to protect ourselves from the monsters. You find your own place, and you got guns. You figure it out there. I need some protection, okay? Uncle George makes his way back into the house because he was left outside somehow. Letty decides to take on the obligation to go find the car to go rescue everybody. Letty is also a track star. You saw that when she was running through the restaurant. But when I tell you Letty was booking it through them woods, she was getting it, okay? She gets the car, she whips it, and she comes back. And while all of that's happening, the sheriff officer that had his arm bitten off by the monster, it's clearly some type of infection, some type of mutation, because he's literally transforming into one of those said monsters, okay? He goes through a full transformation right before our eyes, and then go ahead and munches on his coworker. And I'm just like, sir, you couldn't have just took one bite. You had to take multiple bites to just destroy the man altogether. Like, they let you walk away with just your one arm, but you had to kill him. But then he's a monster, so I'm pretty sure there's no rationalization there. I'm moving on. They kind of hint at the monsters being afraid of the light. At one point, they shined a flashlight on one of the monsters. It jumped up in the air and went down into the ground, like instantaneously buried itself into the ground. So Letty brings the car up. They make it inside of the car. There's this sound, like this whistling rhythmic sound that happens. It could be a whistle for like a handler of the monsters, But what I really think it is, I think it was a signal that the sun was about to come up, and you know that the monsters can't handle the sunlight. So that's what I think that was. So I'll make sure we put a footnote in that and continue to pay attention to that as we watch the series. So they eventually make it to Artem. They come across this very nice mansion, nice yard. This place, it doesn't even look like it. It doesn't even look like it's been lived in. Like, it's so beautiful and it's amazing. And of course, guess what's outside? The silver vehicle. They knock on the door, and it turns out that they have been they've been expected. So it leads me to believe that this has all been concocted to bring us to that very moment, and they meet Mr. Freeman. That's where we end episode 1 of season 1, Lovecraft Country. I hope y'all enjoyed the review. Make sure you go check out this series. If you like this video, let me know that. You can like it, you can comment, and even better, you can subscribe. Come on. Come on over, baby. There's some song that has "come on over" in the chorus, but I know I just mucked that up, okay? So I'm gone. I'm gone. Y'all have a good one. Make sure you check out Lovecraft Country on HBO, okay? Be easy.